On behalf of Team 17 Safety Solutions, we welcome you to a presentation on the dangers and correct use of mobile plant and vehicles.
The first section will detail the unfortunate fatality of a construction worker whilst using mobile plant and equipment. This will be followed by a short reenactment of the incident with an analysis of the HSE statute breaches. We will then detail the regulations, codes of practice and HSE guidance on the subject, which, again, will be followed by a short reenactment to demonstrate the correct hazard management. The final section will be a method statement for the correct example, followed by a conclusion.
On the 11th of February 2005, Lance Taylor, a 23-year-old employee of McCobb Southwest Limited, received fatal head injuries whilst operating a piece of mobile plant at Chestnut Walk, Abbey Mad, Gloucester. The court found McCobb Southwest Limited guilty of breaching Regulation 9 Section 1 and Regulation 29 Section A of the Provision and Use of Work Equipment Regulations 1998. A total fine of £80,000 was incurred by McCobb, consisting of £40,000 for each breach. The court also ordered McCobb to pay £29,798.14 in costs. This is the reenactment of events leading to the unfortunate death of Lance Taylor at Chestnut Walk, Abbey Mad, Gloucester on the 11th of February 2005. Mr. Taylor was subcontracted to operate a piece of mobile plant on site for which he held a full licence.
During his work, Mr. Taylor required the use of an excavator, for which he did not possess a licence. Rather than find the qualified driver, he attempted to use the plant himself.
While proceeding to excavate the trench, a colleague approached the vehicle and asked for the keys to another piece of plant. Instead of safely shutting down his excavator and handing the keys to his colleague, Mr. Taylor leant over the controls to throw the keys out of the front window of the cab.
As he leant forward, he came into contact with the excavator's controls, raising the hydraulic arm, crushing his head between the arm and the digger's cab.
He sustained major injuries to his head and was pronounced dead at the scene.
As shown in the demonstration, McCobb Southwest breached Regulation 9 Section 1, in which every employer shall ensure that all persons who use work equipment have received adequate training for purposes of health and safety, including training in the methods which may be adopted when using work equipment, any risks which such use may entail, and precautions to be taken.
They are also in breach of Regulation 28, specifically Part A, which states that any mobile equipment should have in place measures to prevent unauthorised use.
The Health and Safety Executive provides publications to aid construction workers in safe practice. The 5 highlighted above give more than adequate information on how to avoid events such as the ones that occurred on McCobb Southwest site.
The first publication gives practical guidance on how to prevent vehicle accidents on construction sites. It provides information on planning and managing vehicle operations.
The second publication, with emphasis on pages 54 to 61, relating to mobile plant and equipment, gives current legislation and industry-recognised examples of good practice. It also outlines the essentials for achieving high standards of health and safety.
The remaining 3 publications provide further key information to help maintain a safe site.
This section of the presentation will demonstrate good practice when using mobile plant and equipment.
In order to operate an excavator, the appropriate qualifications must be acquired, such as NPTC Level 1 and 2, Certificate of Competence in the Safe Use of Plant, or an equivalent certification. The appropriate use of PPE is vital in maintaining safety standards. The Personal Protective Equipment at Work Regulations 1992 should be adhered to at all times on site to maintain a safe environment. Signs can effectively highlight potential hazards. Barriers can cordon off dangerous areas and should not be crossed by unauthorised personnel. Banksmen can be used to aid the driver's visibility and warn of any potential hazards.
Here Mr. Taylor will show good practice when using an excavator. He has obtained all of his relevant qualifications and wearing appropriate PPE.
Signs and barriers are in place to highlight possible hazards. He has been shown method statements and risk assessments for the excavations by his supervisor and is aware of any risks. His qualifications have made him aware of the dangers of speed and overturning.
Visibility is good and is further enhanced by the presence of a banksman.
Mr. Taylor turns off the ignition of the excavator, climbs out of the cab and safely hands the keys to his colleague in person. His colleague then takes control of the vehicle whilst Mr. Taylor becomes the banksman for his colleague.
This has demonstrated best practice regarding the use of mobile plant and equipment.
We will now move on to look at the method statements. The method statement is a document which should contain all of the details required to complete the task at hand safely and to specification.
It has details of site location, the description of works, the start and completion dates, and the contact details of site supervisors.
We have highlighted the following areas on the method statement which relate directly to health and safety on site.
The purpose shows the operator the intentions of the method statement.
This section highlights any predetermined health and safety risks which may exist to the operator when he is carrying out his task.
This section lists any personal protective equipment required by the operator. It will always include basic PPE, but can also include specialist equipment required for certain jobs, such as respirators when working with asbestos, or harnesses for working at height.
Any permits to work that will be required by the operator to carry out his task will be listed in this section. This includes basic information such as CSCS cards, right through to permits to dig and permits to enter confined spaces.
This final section is signed by the site supervisors and safety officer to show that the method statement has been reviewed and signed off, ready for the task to commence. In conclusion, the presentation has highlighted the correct code of practice regarding the use of mobile plant and equipment. The unfortunate death of Mr. Lance Taylor has been analysed and evaluated to determine the errors and solutions to the events that led to the fatality. A method statement detailing how the work should have been undertaken has been produced and evaluated to aid with future work of this kind.
This has been a Team 17 Safety Solutions video. Thank you for watching.